This is the World Organic News for the week ending 15th of May 2017. Jon Moore reporting. We begin this week with a post from the blog The Intrepid Homestead entitled Pastured Pork, Pros and Cons. A whole new skill set is required for pasturing anything. Pigs being pigs and innately intelligent beings bring their own issues. Thankfully, there were far-sighted people who didn't follow the Danish landrace highway to factory farm pork. No, these people kept alive the old breeds. Not all of them, but enough for pastured pork to be a thing. The old breeds like Gloucester Old Spot, Wessex Saddleback, Berkshire and Tamworth. 3 of the pros discussed are as follows. Quote, your pig will taste better than the average pig, assuming you feed them good food. Remember, you are what you eat, and you are what you eat eats. They'll clear your land of more or less all vegetation minus large trees. They'll fertilise your land and any land downstream from your land. End quote. Taste in meat is a personal thing. The point is, all pigs were once raised on mast, which I believe is counted in the Doomsday Book. Mast refers to things like acorns, beech nuts, hazelnuts and so on. It is possible to raise pigs on these resources now if you have them or access to them. Back in episode 22, the interview episode, Lou from the North Island of New Zealand told us about her pigs and how they were supposed to clean up the macadamia landfalls. Unfortunately, her pigs were standing on their hind legs to eat the low-hanging nuts straight from the tree. Pigs are useful. All useful things have their limits. Jon Moore of the Complete Book of Self-Sufficiency fame recommends pigs as having a plough at the front end and a manure spreader at the back. To his mind, they were for cleaning land as well as fertilising. So put them in after your potato harvest and they will clear any you missed. They'll turn old pasture into a ploughed field as near as ready for sowing as you could ask. There is also an established if small market for this type of pork, which is good, and means you shouldn't have to eat nothing but pork 3 meals a day. There is therefore much to recommend pigs on pasture. Now to the cons. Longish quote. If you raise pigs in a field, forest, meadow or pasture, that is where they'll most likely be when you go to round them up for slaughter. This is not an easy task in many cases. Many YouTubers, movies and bloggers have idyllic photos and videos of homesteaders and farmers frolicking with their pigs. This may be true for about 5 minutes, or on days when you and they have nowhere special to be. But as soon as you roll up with a trailer and they see you salivating at the thought of eating them as ham and bacon, you'll soon find out how belligerent a pig can be. And a pig is like an impetuous 300-pound bodybuilding 2-year-old. Catching them requires work and ingenuity. It might also take some nerves. A caught pig makes a lot of unsettling noise. If you have to deliver a live animal to the butcher, it's going to take some effort. On average, it takes us 70 minutes per pig to gather and place it in a trailer. Oh, and that is with 4 to 5 strong and fit men, end quote. There are any number of stories from the Middle Ages of royalty and nobility being killed off early in boar hunts. Now, a domesticated pig is not a wild boar, but the point is well made. 300 pounds or 140 kilos of annoyed pig can make quite a difficult proposition, but others can do it, so I guess we all can, if we want. To quote again from the post, all in all, raising pigs has been quite an experience, one that we intend to keep doing. However, it is not without its challenges, and knowing these beforehand can be helpful, end quote. And now from Little Red Homestead comes the post, the top 5 things I have learned since I started homesteading. Let's get into them. 1. It does not look like it does in the movies. 2. All hands on deck. 3. Things really don't go as planned. 4. You'll wake up sometimes and wonder what the point is. 5. It's a slow process. I just have to quote from number 1. It does not look like it does in the movies. Quote, the ugly truth of homesteading isn't meant for the movies. It can be beautiful and fun and romantic and whatever else you fantasize about. But there is another side to every coin, and it involves poop, blood, death, cold, heat, splinters, animal bites and scratches, loose animals, plant diseases, smells, rain, wind that blows your sheets off the clothesline and smothers nearby seedlings. It happened. Aphids, rabbits eating half the strawberry patch you've waited all winter for, happened last week. Being too sick to feed yourself but still having to go out and feed animals. I could go on, but you get the picture. End quote. Naturally, the real world has little to do with Tinseltown. But the just quoted word sums up life in more of its red in tooth and claw reality than a comfortable city life can ever be. Don't forget the start of the quote. Beautiful, fun and romantic. In my experiences, these things are just magnified because of their juxtaposition with the other things going on. All of that being so, I can understand point number 4. You will wake up sometimes and wonder what the point is. Quote, when you were up all night with sick kids, you're pregnant, you're hungry, and you're too cold to get out of bed, you're going to start thinking of reasons to quit and be normal. After all, it's not like you can vent to many people about how hard it is. It's not something many seem to empathise with these days. Just remember, though, that it's all worth the trouble, and that being normal is for schmucks. End quote. And there is one thing in life of which I am certain. Anyone who listens to this podcast is definitely not a schmuck. And on that happy thought, we will end this week's episode. If you've liked what you've heard, please tell everyone you know any way you can. I'd also really appreciate a review on iTunes or the podcatcher of your choice. This may or may not help others to find us, but it gives this podcaster an enormous thrill. Thanks in advance. Any suggestions, feedback or criticisms of the podcast or blog are most welcome. Email me at podcast@worldorganicnews.com. Thanks for listening. I'll be back in a week.